So, welcome to I'm from Bradford, and my first guest here is Talhah. Good year. What you call it? Talhah Star. I thought that was like a legal second name.
That's what everyone thinks. My name's Star. Like, no, it's not.
So, you're really into your music
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Since I've known you from Oasis, you've been doing music since year 8.
Literally.
I think,
Yeah. Pretty much everything, like from birth. Like since I've come out, I've come playing the piano or something along them lines. Music has always sort of been part of my life, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So from start, like everyone knows me as either like the music guy, the guy who just talks waffle, or someone that's always in a creative field. Because I'm always doing something creative.
Yeah.
Usually.
So, what made you start? When did you actually start, anyways?
Literally, like I was saying, from almost birth, because I was brought up with my dad. He used to own a speaker system, and he used to go around places doing bookings there, and he used to just record or set up the sound PA system for someone else. And I was always around that technical side, like seeing mixes and people singing or people doing whatever.
So how old were you
Oh, very young. There's videos of me my dad holding me in his arms and then him just messing with the mixer, running around oh wait, I need to go fix something there. So from the age of 2, there's videos of me. I think I was 1.5 years old, and I'm stood in a mehfil, and there's someone there just legit just reading, and me just there in the middle vibing away. So from an early age, I was sort of exposed to the life of a live technician, realistically. And then from there onwards, I was just always interested in music, because even though I come from a Pakistani and a Muslim background, I was brought up around Adhan Nasheeds, Akawali, or even Bollywood music. But then sort of my taste became more and more eclectic as my years went on, because I was surrounded by different people. Now my dad obviously brought me up listening to Qawwali, but then from there onwards I was okay, he listens to other stuff like 80s songs, because that was when he was in his teens, so he'd listen to all the rest of the Michael Jacksons, the whoever else of the 80s, that era. And then my mum was into old Bollywood, so I was listening to Rafi songs and all the rest of it. So when I went into school, a lot of the kids were oh, what do you listen to? And I was listen to all these Bollywood songs, and they were we listen to yeah. So no, we listen to gangster rap and Tupac and Biggie. So I was who are these lot? So I went home, and back then I used to have a massive a PC computer, and I used to just go home and listen to these songs. And that was the first time in my life I was exposed to heavy swearing or profanity. So I was this sounds cool, so let me listen to more.
How old were you that time?
Oh, it must have been 8, 9.
So primary school time?
Yeah, primary school.
I was like that in primary school too. My whole family listened to Bollywood songs, and I'd come to school. Did you guys watch Partner?
Yeah, what a legendary film. Literally, that's what I was because everyone would go to the cinema and be oh, have you watched the new, I don't know, for example, let's just say, oh, have you watched the new Lion King? I'm no, but I've watched this new Bollywood film that's come out. They're you watch Bollywood? What little mango? I'm yeah, that's basically me. So I remember the music that I'm sort of into now is very much UK. I hate using the word urban, but it's urban culture.
Mm-hmm.
So your grimes, your drills, your UK rap, UK garage, all that stuff. But I got brought up on that in year 6. I remember, so I must have been 10 years old, and there was a lad in my class, and my dad was oh, have you heard the new Skepta track? And I was who's Skepta? So I went home, googled and researched who the hell Skepta was, because everyone seemed so hype, and that was my first introduction to what's now known as grime. And from there onwards, I've built up gangster rap, grime, Bollywood, 80s music, and I was what else can I listen to? So when I went into year 7, so when I transitioned, I remember Mr. Harrison, our music teacher.
Yeah, I remember.
So he was what do you want to sing? And I was I don't really sing. He was what do you want to sing? I was I don't sing. He goes, no, you're going to have to sing. I was okay, whatever. And he was here's a list of songs. And I only had probably maximum on there 10 songs out of the 100 that were on the list.
What were they the charts list or something?
Yeah, mainly charts, and then no, there was half of them were chart songs at the time, and then the other half were classic songs Stand By Me or Fly Me to the Moon, songs that are of past eras, got classics basically. But I didn't know them at the time, so I looked through them and I was well, I don't know that song. It was you don't know Stand By Me? I was no. And me being this 11-year-old was scared by this big tall giant of a man. I was no, I don't know this song. So he was okay, alright, this is your homework for the week. I remember him telling me, he was these 50 songs here that you don't know, in the next 2 weeks you better have listened to all of them. So I was okay, cool. So I went home and then basically became a jazz fiend. So going from pure Skepta raving grime, and then he just went into Fly Me to it completely changed my mind about music, because how I obviously heard like gangster rap and grime, and then Bollywood and 80s music, it was that very contrast of here's the aggression and here's the love. And I thought that was basically, that's all songs were about.
Yeah.
And the more, now obviously back then jazz or even blues were quite, well, apart from blues, jazz was quite like about love and romance and all the rest of it. But when I started looking at blues, so for example, like more I started looking at Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, all these people, I started realising music is more about emotion and pain and basically someone else's story.
Yeah.
And once I sort of understood that, I was open to all sorts of music. So from now, if you look through my playlist, there's something between like Mozart's magic flute. So I'm listening to things that are very operatic or classical, and then the next thing on shuffle will be like Jamie's new album.
Yeah.
It's very different.
So when I see on your Instagram story, like sometimes you put music on it, sometimes some such random stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like one day I'll be in a vibe just listening to like Michael Bublé's Christmas album now, because it's as we're recording it's December, so I'll be listening to that, and then when it's January hits, I'll be listening to something like old school Biggie or like Nas's album. But that's what I've always been like. I've never been stuck on one idea. I love the idea of change. I hate consistent boringness. Like having sticking to one thing. And that's why, like, even you've known me since year 8. Even though I've had the same principles, I've changed as a person every year gone by, or the way I talk, or my mannerisms, or what I listen to, or what I do. And I think that is due to music, because every year I'd pick up a new instrument.
Yeah, you can see that in music itself. Like you can see how music evolves over time.
Yeah.
You can listen to music in the 80s, and you can listen to music now, and you can see people taking stuff and making it better.
Yeah, exactly. But even if you look further on back, now that I'm in uni, I'm looking at more of the technical aspects of music. So when I was obviously in GCSE time, year 10 and 11, I was told, okay, here's a song, analyse it, and be like, oh, it sounds happy, it's got major chords, the lyrics sound like this. Now I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, even though it sounds messed up to say, it's like, okay, what drugs were they on? Or what was their influence? Because a lot of the music is influenced by drugs.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's like sort of the problem with being like a Pakistani musician, quote unquote, is that I don't do drugs. So it's like, can I make good music to be there? Which I think I can, but if you look at things that chart, they are like for example the Beatles. They would not be the Beatles without LSD or acid. Like that's how I see it.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah. You can get like intimidated by that, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, do I have to do drugs?
Yeah,
to do music.
Exactly. Like for example, like I was saying that now I make grime, and the other day I was in the studio, and the lads were like, "Right, we're gonna go smoke weed." I was like, "Okay then." So, and I've seen so much drugs in my life, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go near that, but I'm here just so I can fulfill my creative process.
Yeah.
So like if I'll go, for example, when I studied in London last year, and I'd say, okay, I'm going to studio. As soon as I sat in the studio, it stunk of weed. Going to the toilets, there's cocaine all over the place. Yeah, it was crazy, because you'd go into these sketchy areas. I was living in a nice area, but the studios I go in were like in East London, so not the nicest of places. It's not bad, but I'd go there and you could smell the blood off the floor, and there was that sort of culture, like of aggression, violence, drugs. And do you remember watching DVDs back in the day? They'd tell you like, don't steal, that advert, don't do drugs, all this stuff. And
you wouldn't
steal, that stuff, So it was about pirating, but there was all these adverts surrounded with like creating a really nasty image of doing like drugs or being in the culture. And I remember one of my cousins, he's like a bit of a loose pot, but he was like, oh, if you get in music you'll be part of the Illuminati. So like as most people like have that conspiracy theory, so I was like, what's the Illuminati? Went home, googled it, I was like, I don't want to be part of that. But that's what it was like. And the more and more I got into understanding music, I understood myself more. So when I was looking into, again, when I started first listening to the Beatles, or even like the Rolling Stones, I watched a documentary where it sort of depicted the lives of Mick Jagger and how much drugs he was doing, but he wasn't ever happy. And neither was, this is going to be so stupid, there was a fifth member, I've completely forgotten his name, probably should remember this, but he supposedly topped himself because he went inside the pool when they were all partying and they just saw him floating because he decided, this isn't the life for me. And when I used to do music, I loved it when I'm performing. Like you know this best out of anyone. I'll put on a character and I'll love it because I'll walk there like I'm 100 men and just take over the stage completely. But then when I was watching these people, I was like, do I really want to go down that route? Will I ever end up here? And because again, coming from a predominantly British Muslim background, if I did music, they were like, "Oh yeah, you're the birth of the devil." Like,
that's the culture around it, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
I know people that just don't listen to music like in front of their parents just because of what their parents say to them. Just the culture around like Islam and music and stuff.
100%. But this is the problem with a lot of people that I face with. So if you look at Sufi mysticism or beliefs in Islam, in that sect or that direction of Islam, like for example, Qawwali is such a beautiful thing because it shows the level of poetry and the writing is this high up, then the level of musicianship is this high up, and everything's on an elite level where once you understand it and it clicks, you become aware of everything else. Like for example, now that I'm at Huddersfield Uni, everyone once every Friday gets to show off a song. So the drum set we've got so far is for a rock drum recording. So we've got overhead mics, which basically just pick up all the over surrounding air in the room basically, and it picks up most metallic sounds, so all the metal work here. And then we've got these 4-2-1s which we're using for toms, and you can use different ones. You can have them clipped onto the actual rim of the drum. Yeah. Well, we've just decided to go with this. And like the most important sound, like I feel like if you don't have a good kick sound, your drum recording is going to sound shit. So we've got the D112 in the porthole, and we've got a 4-2-1 same as the toms to pick up the boominess on the outside, and that sort of picks up when it's both half in, half out, both the attack of the kick and the resonance coming off the res head that way.
What's the difference between these microphones for instruments between a microphone for like voice?
So like vocals, it's the diaphragm which is the difference. So if you're using like condenser mics, for example, let's say a vocal, some mics have like full range of human hearing from like 0 hertz to 20,000, which is like the maximum you can hear as a human. And then others like instrument mics will only have a certain amount of hertz, so it's like a certain frequency only, not just the whole entire thing. And that's why you have specific mics for specific instruments. And so far people are like, oh, we'll play Strawberry Fields by the Beatles because of how interesting it sounds, or we'll play something by Tool because it's a progressive rock piece. And there's all these white artists. Yeah, they're all white artists, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the problem is that's what the industry likes to push. That is the agenda.
But at the end of the day, that's being closed-minded.
100%. So what I decided was, well, I'm going to switch this up. So even though I wasn't in the phase of listening to Qawwali at the time, I was like, I'm going to show them some proper Pakistani music and show the intertwining of religion within music, because a lot of them thought, well, he's Muslim, he shouldn't be here. That sort of, because I am the only Muslim on my course. Went to London, studied in London, only Muslim on the course. Come to Huddersfield, only Muslim on the course. In the 2 years that I've spent studying music at a higher level, I've only met one other brown guy in my course.
It's because, like you were saying before, about the culture and the way people look at it. But I want to go back to when you're talking about the 5th member of the group that dubbed himself and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's just like across all creative boards, like filmmakers, you'll see filmmakers who commit suicide. You'll see comedians like Richard Pryor.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll see musicians. Kurt Cobain killed himself apparently. Wife might kill him. Yeah. But Kurt Cobain, like he's an
icon. Yeah.
He's an icon, and he's like the full like stereotype of the drug, and just made the music on drugs and became to the top.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of them, everyone is, because you see the stars of the show, and if you're watching them live, it's interesting to see, because if they do a halftime, because I remember like seeing some documentary where they'd go perform, everyone's loving it, high energy, get to the back, no one's talking in the green rooms, and they're just lines of cocaine, or there'll be needles here and there, and they just do a line like, right, okay, time to go back on stage, and as soon as they come back, energy's there. Once they come back out, once the show's over, that's the end of it.
I feel like after a bit of time it just becomes so fake and so artificial. Like just being happy on stage is just like something that you have to make.
Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of people. When they start in music, they're happy because you have to find what makes your own happiness. Now the problem is, once you become a star or someone that's on a level where you can tour or you can produce big music, or you have to become a certain type of person, you are like inclined to fit that role in a sense. So you have to consistently be that person, because once you change your type of music, people will turn off you. Like for example, like I was saying, going back to Skepta, after when 2016 was it when he really shut down and that whole Konnichiwa album, he was making proper grime. Then he moved away doing more pop type stuff, and people were like, wait, this is not what we want. Skepta's changed, we don't want this, and they completely turn on you.
Yeah.
And the people that don't get turned on, for example, the Rolling Stones did a tour last year where they did Wembley, I think they did, and a worldwide tour. Hundreds of thousands of people came to see them. Why? Because they haven't changed. They do the same thing. All is drugs, same music, same crowds, and they attract the same reaction. And fair enough that the Rolling Stones make good music, but I think that change, once you decide to change, is when you have to deal with the backlash. Like when you enter the industry and when you decide to change yourself in the industry. And that's a big problem within it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's just not evolution, is it?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the problem. Evolution. We decide not to change because we don't want to alter people's ideas of us.
Yeah.
Now, that's not even just in music. That's in real life. Like, for example, I know when I went down to London, I was like being myself, happy-go-lucky, very loud, not brash, but as in I've always been somewhat the centre of attention in everything that I do because I want to push myself. I want to be the leader. But I went to London and there's all these people they were very nice, don't get me wrong, but some of them were very, very pretentious. And being a lad from Bradford, it was hard to fit in. So I was there like dropping these jokes, or oh, have you seen the new this, or have you seen the new that? And they're like, no, we don't listen to that. Oh my god, I listen. The Beatles are so pretentiously overrated. I'm like, what? You do music and this is your idea? And then I'm thinking, okay, wait, if I showed them like Bollywood music, what would they think? And I didn't want to because I was sort of restricting myself. This is the one time in my life where I've sort of pushed myself away from who I am, and that's why I sort of started hating myself in a sense, because I was censoring, not even censoring, I was just stopping myself from being myself because I didn't want to be judged by these people who are rich, white and smart.
Were you embarrassed to show them?
Sort of, it wasn't like I've never been embarrassed, but I didn't want to be put in that situation where they'd be like, oh, what the fuck are you listening to?
And then they'll change the way to see you.
Yeah, exactly, because they already did. Like, I remember the first day I went there, and there was all these international, like, it was predominantly international students.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, where are you from? Where are you from? They're like, oh, this place. And this guy from Poland came up to him and was like, where are you from? I'm like, here, England. He goes, no, you're not. I was like, no, I am. He goes, you don't sound it. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm from up north. He goes, where are you from? Bradford. He goes, okay. And that was it. And I never talked to him again. Like, it was just this stigma of, one, being this colour skin tone, two, having a beard, and three, being Muslim and Pakistani in a sense, because it's like topping off all the four things the Daily Mail like to pin on people. And it's it is what a lot of people have been fed. And again, like I said, being the only Muslim, like, I wouldn't be invited out. I wouldn't be like, oh, they wouldn't understand it, because I've been like to a pub to sit down with some white friends to go over ideas. Like, I've performed at a pub with a lot of the white friends that I have, and I don't have an issue with it because I'm not drinking. Don't get me wrong, I'm surrounded by it, but I have the mental strength to say, no, I don't want that. And it's also, I don't want to be in that culture. But these people, when I was in London, they were like, okay, we're not going to invite him out because, you know, oh, well, he's Muslim, and we don't know how he's going to react. And that's how it came across to me. Now, that's not what they might have been thinking, but because of who I am as a person, I was sort of cut away from these opportunities. Like, I remember before I went down to London, my dad was like, oh, you're going to have so many opportunities. I was like, yeah, I know. My uncle came over, was like, you're going to have so many opportunities. I was like, yeah, I know. And then my brother was like, you're going to have opportunities. I was like, yes, I know, I understand. Like, London is the greatest city in the world. If I could, I'd probably go back to live there.
Really?
But when I was in uni, because of who I am, I wasn't giving them opportunities. Like, I'd see kids that were from rich Asian backgrounds given, like, more help than I was. And I'd look at it and be like, wait, why can't I? Like, I mean Asian, I mean like Oriental Asians, like that area, Eastern Asia. I was like, okay, well, they're getting opportunities, why aren't I? And then look at these kids who are paying, like, for their accommodation, they were paying tens of thousands of pounds. And I'm here on student finance, on a scholarship, trying to get through City University of London, like, and you get through this, and you do it for my parents. And I thought, this isn't, like, what I expected it to be. I loved living in London, the whole that life was amazing. But the university itself sort of stopped me off from being who I was, and I thought, I'm doing music, I should be allowed to express myself. and this wasn't happening.
Well, yeah. I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah,
It's just disgusting, isn't it?
It is, because I thought, like, I'm living my best life here. And, like, peak moment of it basically goes, I'm in a relationship, I've gone on holiday with my brother, I've come back, it's December time, and they're doing a Christmas show. And I'm thinking, everyone's giving me, like, I've moved back. I haven't even told my parents this, I don't think. I've not told anyone. So December 26th I came back, December 27th, sorry, just after Boxing Day. And I was supposed to stay for New Year's, and I told my parents, oh wait, no, I need to go back to do work. And it was a live performance piece, and I was texting like the group, okay, where's the performance going to be? Didn't get a reply. I was like, okay, texting people privately, it's like, oh yeah, we still haven't sorted it out. And I'm here trying to scrap a grade out because I don't want to be the one blamed for it, because I know that I'm going to be pinned for it. So I'm here trying to get a grade, and every time I get a reply back from my tutors or someone that's marking it, they'll be like, you didn't put enough effort in, your group have said that you didn't try hard enough, or you weren't being the one to present ideas. I was like, bro, I've come back home, I've come back away from home, I've moved here, I've come for New Year's to spend it by myself because I've come here to get a grade, and even then I didn't even get that grade that I wanted. So I was like sort of struggling, and I thought, this isn't what I'm meant to be doing right now. And I was sort of struggling in my head, do I stay in London and enjoy being a Londoner, because it's the best, that is the best life you can live.
It's extravagant, isn't it?
Exactly, that's what I like. You know me, like, I will have any chance to show off, but then do I really spend 4 hours of my day just hating life? I thought, not having it.
No point.
Yeah, exactly. So I decided to come back home, and now that I'm in Huddersfield, I am genuinely the happiest I've ever been in my life, because there's people that are like-minded, people that don't judge. Like, there's not one person on my course that I have a personal issue with, or no one that has an issue against me, because the whole idea of music is that there are no boundaries. Yeah. Music in itself is a universal language. You don't need to have similarities with someone or taste with someone to converse in music.
Because there's so much different types in general.
Exactly, yeah. Like, this is what I found, like, amazing. Like, first day I've come into Huddersfield, like, first day I went into London, everyone's, like, very keeping themselves to themselves and all the rest of it. And then I thought, okay, when I go to Huddersfield, I've changed, it's going to be the same thing. As soon as I walked in, people like there giving me hugs, like, oh, how you doing, man? You good? I was like, bro, this is not how it's supposed to be. And, yeah, like I was saying, I was in studio the other day, and the first time ever in my life that I've rapped, like, people are pushing me now instead of me. Like, for example, when I used to be a teacher, I'd drag the kids and be like, okay, kids, do this, and I'd be the one pushing people to do different ideas. But now that I'm there with other people to elevate me, my music is going above, my, like, mental health is, like, high in the sky, everything is going well, and that's all due to music.
That's really good. And yeah, I'm happy for you for that for all of that. And I think that's a really good note to finish.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So the last note I'd love to finish on is just do more of what makes you happy, because a lot of people are sort of stuck in the idea of, I want to please my parents, or I want to please this sort of agenda. Like, for example, like, oh, so we're doing a creative field. How many other Asians do you see in a creative field other than, like, the likes of Riz Ahmed, who have been put through, like, Oxford universities? That is as simple as that. Just do more of what makes you happy.
Do what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, you could be dead. You could just die tomorrow. And then
exactly, like Kalwana, literally, basically, like, the tomorrow you never know if tomorrow's going to come, and that is the problem with us. Like, we're sort of stuck thinking about lifetime plans. We need to be doing this or in the future. Like, live in the present moment. That is the problem. People forget that we're living. Like, for example, you take so many things for granted, like breathing, eating food, like things that make us exist in this world. Like little things. Like, I remember I was talking to my friend. I was like, isn't it weird, like, how we have a pen? Yeah. Like, you think about, like, the idea of a pen, like things that have been written down in history from this thing that has a steel end and an ink, or whether it be pen and paper, feather, whatever. Things like little things. Once we start accepting things that happen in life, or like not even accepting, it's like once we start appreciating things in life is when we start living life properly.
Yeah,
that's what we need to start doing more.
Great. Yeah. Well, it was really nice talking.
Likewise, thank you for having me on.
And yeah, that's the end of this episode. And the message for this episode is just do what you love. I think